On today's menu is something that is perfect for summer days. It is a Bengali recipe, and you will be amazed how simple it is to make, but at the same time it is very healthy and very delicious. Namaskar and welcome to Curries with Bumbi. We will first prep for the lentil dumplings. I used yellow split peas, also known as matar ki dal. You can also use Bengal Gram Dal, that is chana dal. I soaked half a cup of yellow split peas in water overnight. If you forget to soak them overnight, then soak them in hot water for 2 hours. But my friends, I would highly recommend soaking them for 6 to 8 hours. Next day, drain all the water and transfer the dal to a blender. Add just 4 to 5 tablespoons of water, then half a teaspoon of salt, a fourth of a teaspoon of turmeric powder, and a fourth of a teaspoon of asafoetida, that is hing. Hing is optional, but it gives a nice flavor and also helps in digestion. Grind to a nearly smooth paste. You may have to add a few more tablespoons of water to get that nearly smooth paste. If you soak the dal overnight, then there should be no problem grinding them in very less time. Please do not add too much water, as that will make the batter too watery and hard to manage. Add water little by little and work your way through in making a batter that is neither too thick nor too thin and runny. See how smooth it is? Transfer it to a bowl. I like adding about a fourth of a teaspoon of nigella seeds, that is kalonji, but it is totally optional. Now with your fingers, whisk the dal very well for 5 to 6 minutes until it becomes light and fluffy. Whisking it well is very important here, so please do not skip this step. If you whisk it very well, you will be able to get that feel of the dal becoming light and fluffy. Now we will move on to frying them. You can deep fry them, but since we will be adding the dumplings into the gravy, I just like shallow frying them. I have taken 4 tablespoons of oil. Once the oil gets hot, lower the heat to medium. Form small dumplings and place in the oil. Beginners, you can use 2 spoons to do this if you are not comfortable using your hands. And see how they swell up? That will happen if you whisk it well. These are known as bora in Bengali. Fry the boras on medium heat, and since we are shallow frying them, you need to turn them a few times to get that golden brown color all around. Do not brown them up too much, as in that way the gravy won't be able to enter the boras and they won't taste good. Once they look golden brown like this, take them out and fry the next batch. Do not overcrowd the pan and fry them in a single layer. You can make a large batch of boras and freeze them after they cool down. In that way, you can add them to the gravy anytime when you feel like making this recipe. If you freeze the boras, do not thaw them, but add them frozen and allow them to heat up gradually in the gravy over low heat for a few minutes. You can have these as is. These are crunchy and irresistibly delicious. You have no idea how many I end up eating this way, and at the end very few are left for the gravy. So make a large batch, my friends, for the safe side. Okay, I'm done frying the boras. Now let's move on to the veggies. In a pot, add about 5 cups of water. For a change, water entered the pot today instead of oil. In it, add a heaped teaspoon of turmeric powder and a teaspoon of salt. Now cover this and allow it to come up to a boil. Let me show you what veggies I will be using. Butternut squash, you can use pumpkin. Then missed potato, green beans, eggplant, zucchini, carrot, and sweet potato. Now my friends, you do not have to stick to these very vegetables. Use any veggies of your choice or which are in season. Note that I have cut the vegetables into large chunky pieces so that they do not fall apart at the end. When the water comes up to a boil, add a heaped teaspoon of finely grated ginger. Then start by adding the vegetables which will take the longest time to cook. Like I first added the potato, sweet potato and carrot, as they will take the longest time to cook. Now some of you must be thinking, why does she always have to bring in Mr. Potato? Well, if you do not like it, leave it out, but I will add it because I like potatoes and my husband loves them. Cover the pot partially and cook on medium heat for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the butternut squash goes in. Cover again partially on medium heat for 5 to 6 minutes. In the meantime, in a mortar and pestle, add about 10 peppercorns and a heaped teaspoon of nigella seeds, that is kalonji. Grind them very well. Do not make too fine a powder, nor shouldn't they be too coarse. You can use only black peppercorns if nigella seeds are unavailable at your place. But nigella seeds give a beautiful flavor to this curry. They will look somewhat like this. Back to the pot of veggies. Next in line is the eggplant and green beans. Again, cover goes back on partially till the eggplant just starts getting tender. Okay, the veggies are almost done. They should not fall apart, as then it will be a disaster. And we are not cooking a mushy-dushy pot of veggies today. Do a taste test, and I felt the need to add more salt. Next I added whole green chillies, which are optional, but adding them whole like this won't make the dish overly hot. And then zucchini is the last one to enter, as it takes the least time to get soft. When you see the zucchini just starting to get tender, add most of the boras, leaving some for the end. Now keep it covered and switch off the heat of your stove. Remember, my friends, I said to switch off the heat of your stove. Heat another pot on medium-high heat with 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. Once the oil gets hot, add 2 teaspoons of Bengali 5 spice, that is panch foron. I will leave the link to the video on how to make panch foron in the description box. The seeds need to dance around happily in the oil to release their flavor. But remember, the heat shouldn't be too high, as the seeds will burn and then you will be dealing with a very bitter dish. Add 2 whole red chillies and then pour the cooked veggies into this panch foron goodness. Then add the ground black pepper and nigella seeds and mix everything very gently. Now here I would like to mention, it would be better if you add the boras at this point instead of adding them earlier like I did, because they may get too soft by the time you transfer them and some of them may break, which is absolutely okay, but sometimes more boras can break than you think. So it's better you add at this stage. I added the remaining boras and immediately switched off the stove, because if you cook it more, the boras will break. Keep this in mind that the gravy thickens up considerably once it cools down, as the boras soak up a lot of that liquid. It is so nutritious, and you will be really amazed how such a simple dish can be so delightfully satisfying and delicious. Not every curry needs the inclusion of several spices. This is what is called home-style cooking, and you won't be disappointed. Please click that like button and consider subscribing. Bye-bye.